Once you have created the new project in Photopea.com, you're going to see this white rectangle here. And in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see your title, which you gave to it, dog.psd. PSD stands for Photoshop Document. The PS, Photo, Shop, and D, Document. Really nice thing about Photopea.com is you can create a Photoshop document here. It defaults to that. And then let's say you want to work on it on Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, elsewhere in the classroom. You could email that to yourself or transport it somehow and open it in Adobe Photoshop or vice versa. You're working something, this is more likely scenario. You're working in Photoshop at school. You don't finish your assignment on time. You need to finish it at home. You don't have a very powerful computer. So you go online to photopea.com and you can open up the Photoshop document there. So, what we're going to do in this assignment now is we're going to learn about the tools, a couple of the tools on the left side of um, the program right here. So you'll see here we have, these are all individually called tools, and they are on what's called the tool bar, because this is a bar of tools, a tool bar. If you look below all these kind of black and white or gray and white tools, you'll see the default should be red and black right there. I've played around with this many times, so mine might, what I'm about to show you may not look exactly the same as what yours looks like. But what I want you to do is experience this right here. This red is what's called the foreground color, and this black that's a little bit below it is called the background color. We're mostly going to be working with just the foreground color. If at any point you do want to restore the default of black and white, which is more likely, you'll see that the default really in Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, is black and white, but both of them have the same thing. In the upper right hand corner of this area, you see a little black and white square version of the foreground color and the background color. Go ahead and start by clicking on that so it goes black and white. Pause the video, do that, and come back, play. Okay, once you've done that, you should have a black foreground color, white background color. Click on that foreground color, just one click, and you'll see the color picker window where you could pick colors. This square area right here is a gradient that goes from white to whatever main color you've chosen, and then down to black. And then to the right of that, we have this rainbow where we can click and drag and choose any of these colors. I'm clicking and dragging, or you could just simply click. I want a pink right there, or in this case, a light blue. Don't go ahead and do that unless you have to, unless you can't find what I'm about to show you, which are the swatches. The swatches should exist, and I believe that light blue will be one of the defaults for you. You'll see here, these are all individual swatches, a swatch of black, a swatch of blue, and I have my light blue right here. It could be anywhere. Look for whatever light blue you have and click on that. We'll talk about the rest of this area in another lesson. Click OK. So you're going to pause the video, do this. You're going to click on the foreground color, find your light blue, click OK, pause the video, and play when you're done. Great. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to paint the background here, and the tool we use for that is called Paint Bucket. Now, if you look down here, we see nothing that looks like a paint bucket. That tool is not visible. Well, if you look at each of these tools, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner for almost all of the ones here, same thing with Photoshop. There's a couple that don't have it. This stamp tool right here, this clone stamp tool, I believe on Photoshop, I'm pretty sure that has what I'm about to show you with the little arrow. Zoom doesn't have it, but all of these have a little arrow in the bottom right-hand corner. That means there's more tools available behind them. So you could see all of these have extra tools. What I want you to look for is go about halfway down. It's above this little, looks like a water drop. That's called the blur tool, but it looks like a water drop. Go one above that. This is called the gradient tool. And if you do something called hard click, which means to click and hold your mouse. So normally on a mouse, if you want to just select something, you kind of tap your mouse. In this case, you want to click and hold your finger down for a second. So I'm going to do that now, clicking and holding. And you can see that more options pop up. The second option here is the paint bucket tool. Go ahead and find that gradient tool, then hard click on it, click the paint bucket tool, pause your video now, come back and play. Okay, now that you have your paint bucket tool, oops, for some reason I didn't get my foreground color. You should see that your foreground color here is a light blue, and then with the paint bucket tool selected, you come here to your rectangle and just click once, just a quick tap. There we go, we have our light blue background. Go ahead and do that and then come back for the next video.